In this video, I'm going to give you the very basic game plan as to how to transition over to the Robinson curriculum. So whether you're coming from a group setting, a public school or private school, or switching from a different curriculum, this will be your go-to guide as to what exactly you need to do. So let's get started. Hi there, my name is Karen, and if you're new here, welcome. We are a homeschooling family that uses the Robinson curriculum. We have for years, absolutely love it. I cannot picture homeschooling any other way. For a lot of parents, it seems to be the last resort and the very thing they never knew they always needed. It is incredibly sustainable, and I also think it's a very enjoyable way to homeschool. So what is it exactly if you're not familiar? It's reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's going back to the basics. And the way that it works is that first students work on arithmetic for an hour or two. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Then there's writing, where they write every day their own compositions and you give them feedback. And then they work on vocabulary from the book that they are currently reading from the RC book list, and then they read from the book that they're on, and every day they just pick up where they left off the day before and keep going. It's this continual ladder of information, and they just keep climbing it at their own speed. Now, when you purchase the CDs or the online access, there is also a grammar and spelling program, as well as vocabulary worksheets, just some other little extras like that if you want to use them. Of course, they're not mandatory though, but they are helpful if you need them. Also, when you purchase RC online, they have online bonuses not available on the original CD, such as Alpha Phonics, which is a great program to teach your kids how to read. They also have all of the Ray's arithmetic books. So if you need an alternative, something very affordable for math, that's all there for you, as well as other things like a music program and all kinds of good stuff. So that's on RC online, the online bonuses. But at the very frame of it all is the basics of arithmetic, writing. You give them feedback, they work on vocabulary, and then they read from the RC book list. So let's take each one of those and talk about how to switch over from something else. Now, keep in mind that this is a self-teaching methodology, so the kids are expected to do majority of the work on their own. That includes math. So when it comes to math, they are reading the lesson from the textbook, they are working out the problems on paper, and then they are using the answer key to check their work once they are done, and they can go back and fix their mistakes. Once they get a certain percent correct, maybe 95% on the first try, they've mastered the information, then they can move on to the next lesson. If they're struggling, they really shouldn't move on. They should go back, reread the lesson, rework the problems in the lesson until, like I said, they've gotten a certain percent, like 95% correct, and then they can move on. This is the basics of what you need, but some other helpful tools, I'll link them down below, could be, I've created this Saxon error graph where they can keep track of their errors and see their progress, see how they're doing, know when to push ahead and when to scale back. Because when it is getting difficult, they would maybe want to scale back to half a lesson a day and master that, and then move on to the next half lesson. That's better than maybe doing the same lesson over and over again. So when it's difficult, they should go back down to half a lesson a day. And then once they've got a low error rate, keep moving forward. So there's a Saxon error graph product that I've created, as well as maybe a workbook that has graph paper integrated. I created one of those products as well, where the graph paper is integrated and it has 30 squares for the problems, making it really easy to see where each problem is. But like I said, this is really all you need is the textbook and the answer key. This is not included with RC, the basic 195 package. However, they do have a lifetime bundle package that has everything included to get started right away, and that includes all of the Saxon textbooks. So if you can just go that route and save yourself all the trouble of hunting down the correct textbook and matching answer key, which trust me can be a chore, then I would go that route if you can. Now, if this approach sounds overwhelming to you, there is one other alternative that I personally recommend, especially if maybe you've done a lot of curriculum switching or issues, from the public school, is A+ interactive math. It's a very high level math, but it's all online. So if you're working from home parent, single parent, burnt out parent with homeschooling, there's really nothing you need to do here when it comes to math. They watch the lessons online. There's a great little visual component of it where they're watching it, they're seeing it. There's online worksheets, little interactive quiz at the end of each lesson as well. And there's also this version called the adaptive version. That's the one that I really recommend, especially if there's any gaps. Because what that adaptive program does is that it gives them a test. And rather than just saying, okay, based on this test, you start at this grade level, instead, it takes them at that grade level, gives them that test, and then gives them individualized lesson plan with the lessons that they need in order to get from where they are to the goal mark. It's really, really cool. And the grade book, everything is all online. So this is really hands off for the parents, and it's very well thought out. And so I would really recommend the adaptive plan. And I actually have a code where you can get half off until the end of this year. So if you want to check it out, I highly recommend you do it before the end of the year. All right, so now let's talk about writing. This is one of my favorite parts, and it's really simple. All they have to do is start writing every day their own compositions. I say front and back, double space to leave room for you to give your feedback to them. But that's it, a page, front and back, double space of whatever they want to write about. And I say really don't give them a lot of direction on this, because it really shows their heart, what's happening inside their little minds, inside their hearts. You will learn so much about them. It's this great extra form of communication between the two of you, and as well as an educational tool to really help them improve with their grammar and their spelling and their writing skills in general. So after they're done writing, they give it to you, and then you give them feedback. So it's not grading. You just, maybe you want to focus on one thing at a time, like punctuation. You see that's an issue, or capitalization, or whatever words they keep misspelling. The best effective way to help them with spelling is to work on the words they're spelling wrong right now. These are the words that they are using. And once they get a mastery on those and they feel good about spelling them, then they'll reach out and use different words, right? But they need to just master the words that they're using at the moment. So I like to just circle them, give them the correct spelling, and then have them write them 10 times each. I am currently working on sort of revamping for 2022, today, this old classic book goodie, Spelling Self-Taught by Lloyd E. Smith. And it says it in here, the best way to work on your spelling is whatever words you're spelling wrong, to write them out over and over again. So it's the same thing that I do with my kids when it comes to their RC writing assignments. And if you're brand new to this methodology, maybe you just think it can't be that easy, but I have seen it with my oldest with no formal spelling program, from reading the great books on the RC book list and just the practice of daily writing and focusing on the words she currently spells wrong. We are at the point now where she has no misspellings on her essay. She's a better speller than I am. And again, no spelling formal program. Trust the process of reading great books and writing every day, and you giving them feedback. So that is the writing component. Every day they just write. Now, up until the age of 10, it's perfectly fine for them to do copy work. So if you're switching over at the age of 8 or 9, even maybe 10, and they haven't gotten used to this, they can copy. They can copy from the Bible, from a book that you like, that you approve of. But that way, you want them to have good copy sources so they can see in action great punctuation, capitalization. And so once they're done with the copy work, your form of feedback is to compare the two with them and see, hey, you missed these things. Go back and look at the text that you're copying from and make sure you fix it. And so they're learning that way as well. So the copy work serves as a model for them to learn from as well. Now, I would recommend that you not add anything in the very beginning. Just trust the process and just get used to this method first before you add anything else. And by add anything else, I mean, there's these great little resources that are like little spelling dictionaries for kids. It's not like a big overwhelming dictionary. It's smaller based on grade level of words that they frequently use. So it's really easy for them to look up words. So something like that can be a helpful tool. You can encourage them to create their own sort of cheat sheet. Every time they write a word wrong and you correct it for them, maybe they write it in their own little cheat list. I created a resource, another one, because it was helpful for our family. And in the beginning, it had spaces for them to do that. Or one of my daughters, she just took a piece of paper and folded it up into, I think, like 12 squares on each side. And she wrote A, B. So she made her own little dictionary. And every time she had a word wrong, she plugged it into that box, making it very easy. The point is that good spellers don't guess. So they use whatever resources they have around them to help them, right? So it's not about them having to have it all perfect from memory. I encourage them to look at books, try to find the word in a book, use a cheat sheet. Ultimately, all these things help them to be a better speller naturally. Now, the next part in the day is vocabulary, but that is tied to the book they're reading. So let's start there. Where do you place them on the RC book list? This is a little difficult because the list is not broken down into any grade levels. There's no grade levels at all with this sort of methodology, right? So where would you place them? It could be a little bit of hit and miss, just kind of looking at the list and thinking, where they could be at. Ruth Beechick had a great tip that maybe out of 100 words, if they're getting more than 5, 6 wrong, it's definitely too hard for them. It's probably on their frustration reading level. So you want them to be not an easy, fluent, just easy for them to read, but you want it to be instructional. That's the challenging part, but they can read it. It's just stretching them a little bit. But then above that is the frustration reading level, and you don't want them to be at that level. So it's just about finding that sweet spot. Now, when you purchase the Robinson curriculum, you get all of the book files included, so you can print it yourself. I will leave down below a tutorial where I show you different ways how you can print them from home. You need an ink efficient printer. That's obviously going to help. The kind where an ink bottle of $20 lasts for 2 years, so it's really worth it. You could also purchase them online on Amazon. There's some great reprint sites like New West Press. They have a lot of RC titles, so it's up to you, whatever your preference is. I always like to say you either have more time than money or money than time. So either you want to print and bind these yourself or maybe look to purchase them online. Also included when you purchase the Robinson curriculum is a printable version of all of the flashcards that go with all of the books. It's thousands of vocabulary cards. So if you can purchase the ready-made, again, do you have more time or money? The ready-made are just really nice. They're coated, they're very durable for multiple kids, and they're done, right? So that's nice. But you do get them included with the curriculum, and you can just print them yourself. So I have done that as well in the past, printed and laminated them. It is a chore, but if you get the whole family involved, that's nice. Everybody's contributing to their education. But these flashcards are really nice because they have the number of the book that corresponds with the book list in the corner, the word, and then on the back it has the definition as well as used in a sentence. Now, the wonderful thing about this program is that majority of the words come from the actual books themselves. And sometimes the sentences are actual sentences from the book. So it really helps with comprehension because they're understanding the words, they're remembering those sentences. It all clicks and makes sense. So before they start the next portion of the day, which is the reading time. They can work on vocabulary for about 20 minutes. So just really easy. They take a stack. If it's a very huge stack, maybe break it down into chunks, but they would do it just like they drill math flashcards. They'd look at the front of the card, drench, and then see if they know the definition, wet through and through. If they got it right, they'd put it in the right pile. If they got it wrong, they'd put it in the wrong pile. And on and on. Induce, buffet, hostile, chaplain, calamity, flotilla, a fleet of small craft or small warships. I did not know that. The sentence says, this mortar flotilla was commanded by Captain Porter. So on and on. Let's say at the end of the session, they have this is the wrong pile, this is the right pile. They could put this aside for the next day, just pick up the wrong pile and do it again. And either keep going until they have them all in the right pile, or until about 20 minutes is up, and then they can start reading from their book, wherever they're at on the RC book list. Now, I don't think there's any real strict rules here. They can read, a couple chapters, maybe they want to read more. You will probably hear this a lot, which is 2 hours of math, 1 hour of writing, and 2 hours of reading. And I think some parents get overwhelmed thinking they have to start at that, especially if they're new at this. They work their way up to that. They build to that. This is a self-taught methodology, but it doesn't always mean they start out that way, right? That's the goal. That's where we're getting to. If you're switching over with an older kid, if they know how to read, if they know how to write, if they know all their math facts, then they can start at this point completely, self-taught, except for the feedback on the writing. However, as far as the time frame, the 2 hour math, 1 hour writing, 2 hour reading, I think there's room there to work up to that if you're starting off. If this is difficult and foreign for them, just sitting down reading classics, then maybe they can start with 10 minutes a day, and then 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Or maybe you want to do it more a set number of pages, 10 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages, whatever you know your child best, what they can handle. Maybe you do want them to do 2 hours of reading, but they're in a very challenging, difficult book for them. They could read a couple chapters and then maybe split it up and let them read the remainder of the time. Some other books in your library that you approve. So that's fine as well. Remember that the curriculum was structured to make your life easier, not for you to make the curriculum's life easier.
Stop it. Get some help.
So that is the basic RC day. They start with math. They should start with the more challenging thing. You want to get the hardest thing out of the way first. My kids have always liked that. They do math first, then writing, then vocabulary, and then reading. That's it. Now, if you do want to add a formal grammar and spelling, you do have included with the $195 purchase, Professor K grammar and spelling. I do have a video for both of those on this channel if you want to learn more about it, but you will have it printable so you can print it out and bind it yourself. The grammar has the text, the instructions, the lessons. There's also exercises, and the great thing about those exercises is that they come from passages from the RC books themselves as well, and then answers to the exercises. So you can print it out yourself, but robinsonbooks.com, they also have these versions that you can purchase. Here's the Professor K Grammar, and here's the hardback spelling book. But again, you can purchase, you can just print this yourself with the curriculum. This is something that for me is very sustainable as well as enjoyable, and it has freed me up to be able to run this channel and work with my younger kids and just be a mom, just be a wife, as well as I've seen how it helps my kids thrive, and it gives them this sort of rightly earned self-confidence because they have done hard things. They have pushed themselves when it comes to math, different things like that, where they had to do it on their own and they did it. All right, thank you so much for watching. Now, I think you would really like this RC video, but the algorithm thinks you'd like this video instead. So whichever one you choose, I will see you there. Bye for now.